Hi guys, so on Thursday, former Brexit Party leader and now I believe head of the Reform UK party, Nigel Farage, posted this clip on social media where he talked about his bank account being closed without an explanation. The response from many commentators was first to believe him and second to raise an alarm bell that this could happen to anyone. So whether you like Nigel Farage or hate him, you too should be concerned. Now I'm skeptical, to put it mildly, as when it comes to Farage, his relationship with the truth is somewhat strained. He's had some dealings with some shady individuals in the past, and I believe this clip itself may have given away a huge piece of information unintentionally. Have a listen.
I've been living with something for the last couple of months that may well fundamentally affect my future career going on from here, and whether I can even stay living in this country. I have been with the same banking group since 1980. I've had my personal accounts with them since that date, and my business accounts right through the 1990s when I worked in the City of London, and in recent years too. I'm with one of the subsidiaries of this big banking group, one with a very prestigious name, but I won't name them just yet. I got a phone call a couple of months ago to say, we are closing your accounts. I asked why. No reason was given. I was told a letter would come which would explain everything. The letter came through and simply said, we are closing your accounts. We want to finish it all by a date, which is around about now. I didn't quite know what to make of it. I complained. I emailed the chairman. A lackey phoned me to say that it was a commercial decision, which I have to say, I don't believe for a single moment. So I thought, well, there we are. I'll have to go and find a different bank. I've been to 7 banks, actually. Asked them all, could I have a personal and a business account? And the answer has been no in every single case.
Now, okay, there are a number of things I'm not convinced by here. The fact that he received a phone call and he was told that his accounts were going to be closed. The reason I don't believe him is because a similar thing happened to me. Now, I opened a bank account with an Italian bank, I think it was in 2007, 2006, many years ago. Been with that bank since then. And last year, I received a call that I needed to meet with the bank manager of the local branch because he needed to have a meeting with me about my account. I went in, had a meeting with him, and he asked me a number of questions related to my new income as a YouTuber. Now, I had to explain to him how YouTube worked, and I asked him, what was the reason for this meeting? And he explained it was to deal with money laundering. So there was not a concern that there was money laundering going on here, but because my income had changed, the source of my income had changed from Italy to Ireland, because Google Ireland is the one who owns YouTube in Europe, runs YouTube. I was receiving payments from Google Ireland, and this was raising an alarm bell somewhat in the local branch. So the company policy was to run a check, to do a sort of audit, and make sure that everything was above board. Now, this was not a state rule. This was an internal banking rule. Everything turned out to be fine. I was able to, I presented copies of receipts and documentation, and everything was okay. And I haven't heard from the bank in relation to that since. What I believe here has happened to Nigel Farage is that if he's telling the truth, okay, so we have to, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he is, for a number of reasons, but let's say for the sake of argument he's telling the truth. Then he has been blacklisted. I'm not an expert on banking or anything, but I believe that he's been blacklisted, because if the bank said it was a commercial issue, then why would he be blacklisted in other banks? Why would he be refused an account with other banks, separate banks? You would, unless you're blacklisted, and you'd be blacklisted for something serious. Once again, I don't believe the narrative that he's trying to sell here.
There is nothing irregular or unusual about what I do. The payments that go in and come out every month are pretty much the same. I maintain in my business account quite a big positive cash balance, which I guess with interest rates where they are, is pretty good for the bank too. So why is this happening to me? Well, one explanation is this. A few years ago, the European Union came up with a definition of somebody called a PEP, a politically exposed person. Now, this could range from anybody from a prime minister down to a local councillor. And I think the reason for it was, were people in politics open to bribery? Could foreign governments from Ukraine or China or wherever else it may be?
Nigel, I think you've slipped up a little bit here, maybe a major way here. China or Ukraine? China or Ukraine? Notice he left out a pretty significant player when we're talking about, fraud, or we're talking about money laundering, or we're talking about dodgy money. There's a country, I can't put my finger on the name of it. Been in the news recently for some reason. Yes, it's nothing to do with that country. Look, what's also strange about this response from Farage is that he's jumped to this PEP response. Well, it's I've come to the conclusion that it's PEP, although the bank didn't tell him, and the other banks who refused him didn't tell him. So how can he be sure that it's PEP? How can he be sure that it's not money laundering or some issue about, I don't know, some criminal behavior? Now, I'm not saying that he's involved in it, but perhaps the bank believes it or suspect it, and that's why he's been blacklisted. I'm not an expert. I can't come to a better conclusion than his, but it's strange that he is coming to that conclusion even though he has no evidence to back it up, because he said it himself. The bank didn't tell him anything.
Could they be pumping money into the accounts of corrupt politicians? So I kind of understand that and get that. But it's all about interpretation, isn't it? And what the banks argue is that to maintain an account for a politically exposed person gives them increased costs of compliance. Now, I have spoken to the city minister in this country, and there is some hope that this EU definition, which came into British law, may be moderated in some way. We'll have to see. But of course, any bank, any organisation can choose to interpret a PEP, or whether they want the account in any way they choose. To my knowledge, I don't think anybody has been treated like me in the world of politics. But then the banks, you see, themselves are part of the big corporate structures in this country. These are the organisations who did not want Brexit to happen.
And finally, we get to the crux of the problem. Brexit. He's still selling Brexit. It's the banks. The banks didn't want Brexit. And, and this is an internal UK law that needs to be changed to help people like me. Look, he wants the law changed, it seems, to help people like him, even though he hasn't presented any evidence that this is the reason why he's been blacklisted. What is he getting at here? Is he trying to revive some sort of Brexit narrative? When it came to me, this was not an Italian legal issue. It was not a European legal issue. It was an internal banking regulation or banking operation. It was not something that was presented on the national level. It was and that's what the bank manager told me. I said, "Is this something I should be concerned about, that I'm being audited in this way by the is it something that could affect me within the Italian state?" And he said, "No, this is an internal banking procedure." Once again, I don't know if Nigel Farage is telling the truth. I don't know what information Nigel Farage has. He's presented very little so far. So, I don't know. As I said, I'm skeptical. Unfortunately, a lot of people online seem to believe everything that he's saying and believe that, well, everyone and anyone could have their bank account closed for no reason given, and you have no recourse. That's possible, but why isn't it happening to other people? I haven't heard of anyone else that it's happened to. Maybe it has happened to other people. But then, once again, is it because they're being blacklisted? You know, what's happening to Nigel Farage could be happening to somebody else for a completely different reason. We don't have enough information to decide whether Nigel Farage is telling the truth or to come to any conclusion about what's actually happened here. I think we need to wait and see. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.